When we started the club, we wanted to charter with all women because we didn't have an association that was similar to Rotary where just women were members. And we always wanted to be a mixed club. But we had a certain curiosity about what would it be like if we added one male to a group of 25 to 30 women, as opposed to most of the experiences we had had where we were the single female in a group of males in an organization. So we knew that at some point in the evolution of our club, we would always be a mixed club. It was about year 2 or year 3, my recollection is, where we decided it was time to bring on a male member in our club. And Mary Cameron knew a fellow by the name of Rick Cruikshank. And she said, this is absolutely the fellow that we need to have as our first male in the club.
We had to make a decision. We knew that eventually we always wanted to have men in the club. And we decided that we should have one of these firesides that Rotary was so famous for. And so I guess I was president that year, so it had to be at my house. And an amazing number of people turned up because this was a pretty important decision to make. We started that discussion. And people had differences of opinion on that one. And yet there was a recognition. The major difference of opinion was, is it now? Are we ready for it, or do we wait longer? And that night, listening to people, we decided, okay, we know who we are now. We're ready for it.
And it was really interesting because when you go back to the beginning, a lot of the women that became charter members of our club and subsequent members of our club said, why would I want to become a member of an all-female club? Now go forward 2 years and they're saying, why do we have to be a mixed club? So that was a really interesting dynamic. But when we met Rick, we just said, this is the guy.
The one thing that was a bit disconcerting is for the next 2 years when I was the only male member, I was constantly introduced as the only male member of the all-female Rotary Club. And I found that to be a bit, weird, because, and it actually caused me a bit of angst every once in a while. How could I be part of an all-female Rotary Club? But then I realized it was really just the left side of my brain operating more and more every day, and after a while I felt quite comfortable saying, yes, indeed, I am a member of the all-female Rotary Club, quite proud of it, and carried around as a bit of a badge of honor.
We always pushed everything right to the edge, and sometimes you'd feel like you were almost going to fall off. But if we did not push to the edge, we would have never found the middle. And so within the context of that, every single charter member and every member that's come into our club subsequent to that understands this is a club that will push to the edge time and time again. And that is what rejuvenates our club. That is what keeps us creative. That is what keeps us going.
When I was 15 years old and just entering high school, already at the age of 15, I was a full-blown alcoholic and drug addict. And I actually ended up running away from home. I took refuge underneath the high-level bridge, and I lived there for about 2 weeks. But during that time, at nighttime, I would sit under the bridge, sometimes on top of the bridge, and you could see the Royal Glenora Club right underneath it down the hill. And I would sit there and I'd watch people going in and coming out, and you could see the people who were dressed up for parties going in there. And I would say, wow, what a life. I would love to have a life like that one day. And I just kept that inspiration going in my heart. That's when I would have my heartfelt conversations with God. And at nighttime, after everybody had left, I would sneak down the hill and eat out of the trash bin. If it wasn't for the Rotary Club, I wouldn't have been able to continue on with my studies at all, because there was no funding there for me. After that, I carried on, worked for Catholic Social Services for 4 years, but I still had that need to go back to Northwest College, and that's where I presently am working. I've been there for 2 years. It'll be 3 years in October, and I love it. This way I'm able to give back to the students the same way that Norquest and the Rotary Club were able to give back to me, because I'm working in the same office. That helped me, and that made that connection for me with the Rotary Club.
I met Margaret Cool in about 1982 and did business with her, and actually one day at a business meeting in about 1994 or 5, she was talking about this hot lunch program with the Glenora Rotary Club that she was a member of, and they were having trouble getting it funded, and I asked her how much it was, and she said $7,500, and I said, well, I'll pay that. So I did pay that anonymously for a few years, and then I became a little more active with the Calder School, and I would go and visit them there and watch them, have the odd lunch and just visit with the kids. And they were always very kind and gracious to me. They gave me quite a few books and letters that they had made up with poems and different things thanking me for, what I'd done.
Okay, so I had a student in my room that needed some time out, and I had her working in a desk in the hall. And Diane Kyle was touring the school with our principal at that time, Marion Damon. And this little girl was finding crumbs inside of the desk. Diane saw her, and her heart went out to this poor little girl that she felt was really hungry. And from that, the snack program came into place.
Then they came with the little cards, and every single one of them lined up and gave you cards. And oh my God, I went back and you read them, and they're just so honest. And one little guy who's so cute, he goes, "Thank you very much for making our bones strong." And I thought, you know what, if that's what you think, we're doing great. And you can see it, the difference from when we started doing it to now. Like, the kids are healthier, they're happy, they're bouncing around.
We know many of these children have come from disadvantaged families, refugee camps around the world. In particular, many of our families, because they're in refugee situations, mums are coming over, single mums, with 5 to up to 8, 9 kids. And they're trying to make ends meet by going to school, learning English. They're working. The older siblings are taking care of the younger siblings. They have their own homework to do. And many of our younger kids end up not having anyone to read to, or having someone read to them. And one of the things that we've really developed through the last 5 years is the mentorship that the Glenora Rotary can provide our children. We appreciate the dollars, we appreciate the books, but the human contact is way more important for us than any of the other stuff.